is to writing a pattern language for human actions. So today I want to share what I learned from my experience from that. Okay, so today I want to share the three concepts that is interrelated to each other. One is a pattern language 3.0. I named this one pattern language 3.0, and oral language and holistic approach to make a pattern language. Okay, so first one, pattern language 3.0. Reflecting on the history of the pattern language, I recognized the three waves in the past. The one is the pattern language 1.0 from the late 1970s, and the next is late 1980s, and new pattern language 3.0 is started from the late 1990 or 2000. Okay, so this is a summary of my view to categorize the three waves of the pattern language in the past. And okay, here's the pattern language 1, 2, 3, and this is the column describes the characteristics, objective design, and the act of design, and the purpose. Okay, let me to watch the detail in each column. Okay, so in the pattern language 1.0 is, the architectural pattern proposed by the Christopher Alexander. He made talking about designing the physical form in the building, in the towns, and cities. And in the pattern language 2.0, as you know, the software patterns and the interface patterns, organizational patterns belong to the pattern language 2.0. And the new one in the pattern language 3.0 is about the form of human actions like innovation, education, learning, presentation, and collaboration, like that. Okay, the first one is the idea of the pattern language was originally proposed for the architectural design by the Christopher Alexander. And the second one is Ward Canning and Kent Beck proposed a new way of describing the knowledge in the software domain. They presented the using pattern language for object-oriented program in Uppsala in 1987. And Gangleforth's design patterns book is published in 1994. So that is a very famous kickoff starting of this software design. And then the organizational patterns, also the interface design patterns is proposed later. And as you know, the other interesting pattern language about the introducing new idea in your organization or community. So Marilyn Mans and Linda Rising wrote a book about the titles Fearless Change. And also the pedagogical the educational patterns were proposed in this conference. So, okay, so our pattern language like this is also belong to the 3.0. That is a human actions pattern language. So this is several types of the pattern language. I want to know that this is not deny the past 1.0 or 2.0. This is the additional waves. So we have now three waves at this time. Okay. So the next column is the actual design. So in the architecture, that is a very important time to finish completion of the construction. So before the construction, the designers and the collaborators design the building and the cities before the completion of the construction. As you know, of course, Christopher Alexander emphasized the continuous growing of the house and the city is important. But the completion of the construction is a very big event in the architecture, I think. And the software design or organizational design, you can be updated the version 1 or the version 2 or version 3 like that. So the design act is iterated over time. And about the human actions, so design act is embedded in action over time, because you can change your behavior every month or every week or every day, even in every hour. So design is much closer to the action. Okay, like that. So the meaning of the design has a little bit changed. Okay, so the purpose is very important, because how to use is changed in each waves. Okay, so the pattern language 1.0, I mean the architectural patterns, the Alexander wanted to media for bridging the gap between designers and users. I mean the architects and the people who live in the town and building. Okay, so but in the software design, the people use the pattern language as a media for bridging the gap between the expert and non-expert designer, expert and novice, or expert and students, like that. So it has changed. The purpose is changed, actually, but we don't care about the change, this change so far. But this is very critical. So I want to quote from the Chris Alexander's book. So in short, he said, the production system which we have at present defined a pattern of control which makes it almost impossible for things to do done carefully or appropriately, because almost without exception, decisions are in the wrong hands. The decisions are being made at levels far removed from the immediate concrete place where they have impact. So the architecture is coming from the outside, and they designed for the inside person, people, like that. So we replace the idea of standardized housing units with the idea of the houses or apartment designed by the families who are to live in them, each one designed entirely according to the family's own unique needs and character, so that as a matter of the feeling, each house becomes a genuine life-based, like that. So in the purpose, in order to make this possible, there must be some system of rules, some pattern language, or some other similar flexible instrument which makes it possible for families to do this in a competent way. So he and his colleague proposed a way to how to collaborate with the architect and the people who live in the town and the buildings. So this is, but the purpose is making a media for bridging the gap between the designers and the users. Okay, so the next is the software from the Kent Beck and the Ward Cunningham's paper. They mentioned about the Alexander. Alexander proposed homes and office be designed and built by their eventual occupants. We agree and make the same argument for the computer programs. Computer users should write their own programs. Then they said a pattern language guides a designer by providing a workable solution to all of the problems known to arise in the course of design. Okay, also in the book, the Gandolf's design patterns book, they wrote that designing object-oriented software is hard, and designing the use of object-oriented software is even harder. Your design should be specific to the problem at hand, blah, 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 and experienced object-oriented designers will blah, 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 like that. So there is talking about designer and the developers, but not like Alexander, the mention about the user is less than Alexander. So the software pattern is, as usual, using as a media for bridging the gap between the expert and the non-expert. It's okay, I think that is a new way of using the pattern language. So, but we need to recognize the purpose is changed or way of using is changed in the architecture and software. So there is two options. If you load a pattern, software patterns or interface patterns, you can use both way or either way for that. And I think there is another option, another way to use a pattern language, additional one. So this is about related to the pattern language 3.0. This is I want to use the pattern language for connecting the people who have different experiences. So I mean the pattern language as a media for narrative or dialogues. So usually in software design, the pattern is documented and leads a book or read a catalog to learn for the self-studying. But I want to use more like the pattern language as a media for conversation with others more and more. Okay, so this is a brief introduction about my concept of the pattern language 3.0. And the last one is related to the second concept of the language. So the connecting